Greetings. From Stonehenge and Silbury Hill to the headwaters of the Nile to the Great Pyramid at Giza and the Greater at Bosnia, to the ruins at Angkor Wat and those at Chichen Itza, to the outrageous obelisk in D.C., to the melted fuel pools at Fukushima, we welcome you. This is Caravan to Midnight, the John B. Wells program. I am John B., in the left seat of the Ark Midnight, mothership of all motherships, hovering on the cyber wave over the epicenter of the world, Dallas, Texas. You know, we've been pontificating over what could possibly be the true nature of Jade Helm 15. I think we may find out. Rejoice. Rejoice, and in rejoicing, you will begin to formulate your plans. Because certainly plans have been formulated involving you, whether you want to be a part of it or not. We're going to speak with a lady named DJ. I have her last name here, but she has asked us not to reveal her last name because of certain other people who may feel the pain of her endeavors by anyone in authority there putting two and two together, or one and one together and equaling two, right? So we're going to keep it on the down low, but she is an extraordinarily talented person in the realm of computer software and predictive programming, algorithms and so forth. Algorithms being things that change over time. And what she has to say about Jade Helm is certainly going to make your little angel wing stand up, as well as your ears. I'm going to do my best to hang with her. I don't think, looking at her CV, it's going to be easy, but I will do my best. A fairly quick study on these things. Speaking of quick studies, you're going to love this. Hackers have personnel data on every federal employee. Murdoch is stepping down as CEO from 21st Century Fox. His sons are going to run it. He's not ill. He just appears to be over it. He's still energized. You know, he's still got some fire in him, but he just is going to turn it over to the young ones, the passing of generations, as it might be. Don't you find it interesting? Obama approves a new plane. At the same time, he's approving new plane emissions regulations. And which one does he choose? The longest airliner ever built for Air Force One. Little King O. Little King nothing. You know, if this country keeps going the direction it's coming, we're all going to have ends. Forget about the WO, you know, just ends. It won't stand for new, it'll stand for nothing. That's with a U and an apostrophe after the last N. Where's King Nothing? It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? About this leak. Well, the union says, according to the Associated Press, hackers have personnel data on every federal employee. It's been stolen. Social Security numbers, the lot, for every federal employee. A government worker union said Thursday, charging that the cyber attack on U.S. employee data is far worse than the Obama administration has acknowledged. Senator Harry Reid, the Democratic leader, said on the Senate floor that the December hack into Office of Personnel Management data was carried out by the Chinese. Reid is one of 8 lawmakers who was briefed on the most secret intelligence information. A little bit of a paradox there, but whatever. What do I know, right? U.S. officials have declined to publicly blame China, and China, of course, has denied their involvement. J. David Cox, president of the American Federal of Government Employees. Maybe it's American Federation of Government Employees. A lot of typos. They kind of throw off your reading sometimes. Anyway, in this letter to OPM Director Catherine Archuleta, that based on OPM's Good Lord, look at this. Would you look at all this? Folks, I got to tell you, we have a hell of an editing job to do just about every day because of the things that we encounter. This is really crazy. You know, anyway, all this dude was going to say, this J. David Cox, was that we believe the central personnel data file was the targeted database and that the hackers are now in possession of all personnel data for every federal employee, every federal retiree, and up to 1 million former federal employees. So it's really no big deal, right? Because there's 330 million of us, so what do we care? But back to the original complaint that was preceded by that pause. You know, it's one thing when you get into this and you think, oh, you know, gee, I wonder if they're looking. I wonder if they're watching. I wonder if they're annoyed. I wonder if we're getting anybody's attention. But when you go through the absolute absurd number of computer weirdnesses, despite whatever you have between us and them on just about a daily basis, I'm thinking it is a daily basis, it makes you wonder why. So it makes me wonder why some of the other ones out there in the field of what is generally known as alternative media, I wonder why I don't ever hear them complain about these things. I just wonder about that. You see, we're not funded by the Israelis or CIA or any of that, or any sponsors, Monsanto or any of the other derivative companies that that flow from the head of that particular serpent. We're funded by you. And that's it. And you know, when you're freelancing like this, you've got yourself and your crew, and then you have your blessed and most beloved caravanners to keep you going. You find out real quick that there is ample reason for viewing this, that, and the other with a very jaundiced eye. For example, and I'm not going to name any names because, you know, people are loyal to those they wish to be loyal to. And it's not for me to do or say anything that would throw their loyalty into, you know, doubt or any kind of insecurity. But when you see a headline that says, so-and-so says that they definitely did thus and so, it's all revealed. And then you go through the article and the very last line is, well, he didn't say that they directly did it. Or so-and-so was harassed. Cops tried to do this, that, or the other while covering the evil Bilderbergers. And you look at it, and you don't really see any reason for such a spectacular headline. I'm just saying that in the alternative media, it appears that the same axiom applies. Some of it's not meant to be good, it's just meant to be bought. That would not be us. And if it ever becomes us, you'll know because we won't be around anymore. Undetectable NSA-linked hybrid malware hits Intel security radar. While flash malware nastiness detections quadruple, we're all clearly doomed. This is nice. That's speaking of spectacular headlines. That's from the register.co.uk. CTB Locker ransomware attacks rose 165% in the first 3 months of 2015. More than 35% of victims were based in Europe, McAfee Labs reported. CTB Locker encrypts files and holds them hostage until the ransom is paid. As such, the crimeware is picking up the baton that dropped with the takedown of the infamous CryptoLocker ransomware scam last May, as in May of last year. The latest edition of Intel Security's report, released on Tuesday, states attacks on firmware for the first time. Firmware. More specifically, the report details persistent and virtually undetectable attacks by the so-called Equation Group that reprogram hard disk drives and solid-state drive firmware reprograms it. Clever little bastards. McAfee Labs assessed the reprogramming modules exposed in February and found that they could be used to reprogram the firmware in SSDs, in addition to the previously reported HDD reprogramming capability. Once reprogrammed, the HDD and SSD firmware can reload associated malware each time infected systems boot, and the malware persists even if the drives are reformatted or the operating system is reinstalled. Once infected, security software cannot detect the associated malware stored in a hidden area of the drive. Although not identified as such by Intel Security, the Equation Group has been linked to the elite units of the NSA via confirmation by former staffers. You have no privacy, as you're about to find out when we talk to DJ. Pay close attention to what she says. And it's a good thing this is recorded because you're going to want to play some of it back later. As I said on the occasion of a 50-mile-an-hour, 60-degree crosswind off the nose, and we made it to the taxi area, I suspect we were in deeper stuff than we thought. We just got a well done, sir, from the tower. I suspect we are in a lot deeper stuff than we think. But maybe I'm just a little on the pessimistic side. You know, this is going to be an interesting conversation, but I need to give you a qualifier. Yes, the lady we are about to speak with has a first name, a middle name, and a last name. But for reasons that she has explained to me prior to our conversation with you, we will address her only by her initials, which may or may not be her real initials. These are the reasons are simply discretion. Not only discretion for her benefit, but also of those who may be around her or who may not be around her. Well, you figure it out. But in any case, I'm satisfied that she is the genuine article. And her work is very, very interesting. I believe what we are about to hear, if not an explanation as to what Jade Helm 15 is, then let it suffice to be enough about Jade Helm 15 that it should scare the bejesus out of you. Okay, let me just put it to you that way. Hey, Jesus, you know that thing. All right, she has a book in progress, Sum of All Fears. The release date is scheduled in the not-too-distant future. Sum of All Fears, Global Enslavement by an Archonic Technocratic Elite. Some of the videos made are the cloud, computing, an integral part of the NSA and Project Bumblehive. CERN, opening the door to a new realm of physics. The Jade, in Jade Helm 15, is an AI software program. Jade Helm, Mastering the Human Domain. 1033 Program and Executive Order 13684, The History of Jade 2. Planetary Conquest by a Global AI Warfare System. GeoINT, Casting a Neural Net on Humanity. RFID not required. Wow. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Her background is in system and network engineering. Left her job in the gaming industry last year to pursue a challenge to make a difference in a world where right is wrong, up is down, truth is lies. Level 9 News will provide a protected platform to accelerate the awakening humanity is experiencing worldwide. DJ believes it is essential to keep the channels of truth and information open to continue to raise the consciousness of humanity so we don't wake up one day and wonder how we became enslaved to a global totalitarian government. What a good idea. This site, Level 9 News, will have some of the look and feel of YouTube without the censorship. People will be able to form their own forums and communities based on like-minded interests as well as geographical location. A comments forum will be provided for each content item posted. Here, a forum is provided for groupthink to address potential solutions to the problems we as a civilization are facing. Some of the site's topical categories will include topical news and information categories, articles, videos, radio podcasts, environmental, Gulf of Mexico, Fukushima, geoengineering, aerosol spraying, weather warfare, climate disruption, HARP, human health, New World Order, Economic, financial stuff, geopolitics, technology, transhumanism, technocracy, breakaway civilization, Hegelian dialectic, otherwise known as false flags, or at least false flags is in parentheses, the fall of America, the awakening, dot connecting, global awareness, human consciousness, spirituality, origins of humanity, free energy, and contact, whistleblowers, double proxied server, contact L9N, support, and development contribution and contributor acknowledgement. A modest subscription fee will be required to post various types of content in order to pay the monthly hosting and disk storage fees for the site. However, the site and all of its content will be freely available to anyone with access to the web. She asks, are you one of the tens of millions of people who have figured out there's something very wrong with the world we are living in? Help be part of the solution. You can't fix the problems we face using the same tools that created them. Say, that's some pretty good exposition. Welcome, DJ. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what was the aha moment for you when you went, okay, that's it. We're just going to get it on, like right now. And then you started doing your thing here.
Well, the aha moment for me was kind of like, I heard about this Jade Helm 15 exercise early back in March. Everybody was reporting on it. And I started doing some digging on it. And that's when I started coming across making the connection between the Jade and the Jade Helm, and the Jade, or Jade 2, being an AI software system. Okay, it's basically the Jade 2 system is an AI quantum computing technology that has the ability to use vast amounts of data that's being collected on the human domain, that's us, to generate a human terrain system, which they talk about in that PDF. Okay, in geographic locations, in order to identify, eliminate targets, insurgents, rebels, or whatever labels that can be flagged as targets on a global information grid in a network-centric warfare environment.
Well, it sounds like it's not just a war on the American people. You know, we spoke recently with John W. Whitehead, the founder of the Rutherford Institute, and he has a new book out called Battlefield America, the war on the American people. And this sounds like a war on the people of Earth, because I'm sure we're not the only ones who are going to be using this artificial intelligence, these algorithms and so forth. I'm sure that's what they are, because everything changes over time on the battlefield, virtual or otherwise. So, I mean, is that your sense? Is everybody on Earth in the crosshairs here? I'm thinking maybe they are.
Well, with respect to the Jade 2 exercise, it's kind of being hyped and pumped up out there as an invasion or an occupation of a section of America. At the very least, it's the largest type of RMT ever conducted on American soil, anywhere, ever. So to that aspect of it, I believe the concerns are real. However, I think there is another aspect to this program that's running in the background, this exercise, I should say, that's running in the background that not too many people are aware of, and that is probably by design.
And what are we thinking this thing is that's running in the background?
Well, in short, the software that they've developed, this Jade 2, it's technology that will not be battles directed by generals and military commanders, but by a computer. All right? The Jade 2 system is a network-centric, software-based AI program at the helm.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Now, how did you come to that conclusion without giving away everything?
I read it in papers that, let me go back. This isn't actually my conclusion. I mean, everything that I'm going to be discussing with you here today is in the documents. And before we get into some of the specifics that this system is able to do and will be doing. I just want to say that the information that I had found on the net that we will be discussing has been highly sanitized.
Wow.
I believe. It's been because there's things that are not there that should be there when you're talking about a technical system like this that weren't available in the papers.
I see.
So,
well, just take us where you want to go.
all right. Well, why don't we start talking about what the Jade 2 system is capable of, and we can go down this. And I hope this isn't too boring, but you can. The Jade.
I'm thinking it won't be.
Okay.
So don't let that be a concern.
All right. This system uses vast sums of information collected on individuals, groups, population-centric regions, and large geographic areas and/or countries. It then dumps all that information into a module called an HTA, which is a human terrain analysis tool, which then analyzes the data to develop an HTS, or human terrain system. Once the human terrain system is established, it determines, and this is going to start to get really hairy, okay? It determines behavioral parameters for norms of individuals, groups, population-centric areas, etc. The establishment of these formulated parameters is known as the human domain, which we've all been hearing about out there in the media and on the blogospheres and everything. It can then identify, extract, or eliminate perceived threats or targets based on deviations from these norms.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. Jade can also examine the human terrain system over time with the use of thousands of remote sensors, both audio and visual, as well as real-time communication monitoring and other types of HTA tools to change or rewrite its program parameters in a particular human domain. This new information or program template, as well as any other previous program scenarios, is then stored in its Prodigy module, which is actually the battle planning suggestion module, and it can be retrieved at any time for any intended purpose. Now, as this is a knowledge-based or data-driven, mixed initiative, or military/civilian application, it's able to generate complex deployment and battle plans in seconds versus hours, days, or weeks. It can create holographic battlefield simulations on the fly. The deployment or battle planning with this system starts with the receipt of a mission statement, which is then run through a CBR, or case-based reasoning module, to produce an ACOA, or an adaptive course of action. The word adaptive is key. What's it adaptive to? It adapts itself to the changing human domain, us. It adapts its plans based on changing terrain of human activity. What are some of the elements that are classified as human activity? Okay, your communications, your financial transactions, your travel patterns, habits, behavioral patterns, emotions. Yes, this system can read and measure human emotion, and social media content. Okay, the one paper goes on to say that activity can change rapidly in a crisis event or a warfare scenario, and it's able to change or rewrite its own COA, or course of action, on the fly. The system is aware. It has total awareness, even in a rapidly changing environment.
Hold your place there. Let me ask you something. Where's the central input point for this data that results in these solution calculations?
From what I can ascertain, there is no central data input point. What I've been able to glean from all these papers and that is that these huge data dump centers, like the one in Blufftail and many, many other ones are connected into this global information grid. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, the global information grid would be the central point on the
Okay.
network system.
Takes me a minute to get my mind around these things, but I'm with you. Keep rolling.
Okay. Now, format, which is the force management module for this system, was developed by the MITRE Corporation, and it's used to support knowledge acquisition. Okay, that's data collection. That's what the NSA is performing on everyone, not just identified threats, but everyone. Why? Because the government now perceives the American people, I believe, as its greatest threat, and it will use a computer-driven military to clamp us down. Patriots will be classified as terrorists, and the true terrorists, the U.S. puppet government we have out there who receives its directives and agendas from the ruling elite, they'll be deemed patriots to be protected at all costs.
Makes sense.
Okay, the third module in this system is known as PARCA. It's able to handle extremely complex structured queries against large knowledge bases or large databases, data dumps. Have you ever wondered why, or has anybody ever asked the question, why the NSA is telling everyone they're only collecting metadata or meta tags?
I don't even fully understand what those things are, but look, if you'll define them and then ask that question again, it'll be easier for us to track with you.
Okay, meta tags or metadata contain virtually no information or data in and of themselves. Meta tags or metadata only have value if they're indexed to a much larger information source or file in these immense databases. So, this is, in my humble opinion, this is just another example of deception through misdirection. Oh, we're just collecting, your phone numbers you're passing by, and we're not keeping any of your emails or your text messages or anything like that. Well, if you look at how this system is structured, that's the critical data the system needs. It can't work off meta tags, and metadata. I mean, they're virtually empty data until they're indexed to something or something is indexed to them. Does that?
Good Lord. Go ahead. Keep going. I'm with you.
Okay. Jade 2 is, and hold on to your seat for this one, it's a self-reactive, self-adapted, self-modeling program for predictive force deployment. In other words, it can predict conflicts before they occur and react in a preemptive manner.
Okay.
It only it thinks in the present, but it can predict future events or human activity. And these conflicts are not confined to a warfare scenario either. Excuse me. The predict and preempt capabilities can also be applied to scenarios of social unrest. And that's not just my opinion, that's stated right in the reports and the papers on this software.
Good grief. Okay.
So let's look at some of the other key functionality or capabilities of this system. And right now we're just talking about the Jade system because that's what everybody's concerned about right now, Jade Helm. It can make high-level trade determinations. It makes decisions regarding casualties and targets in line with the overall mission objective. Okay? It is a total command. It has total command and control in an information-intensive society. Now, from a military standpoint, the term command is more or less a legal or a behavioral standard of actions performed or not performed by military officers to which they can later be held accountable. The Jade system displaces that standard from individual commanders and places it on itself. Total command and control of all information over land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace is how they will master the human domain. It says that in the PDF slides. It says that in the software papers. Okay? It can perform machine interpretation of commander's intent. Think about that for a minute. You know, that's kind of, you know, let me try and put this in perspective.
Yeah, listen, don't hold it against me if I'm just being quiet here. I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. This is the deepest that we've ever gone on this subject. So bear, you don't have to worry about us bearing with you. Just bear with us, okay? just keep going. I am all attention.
Okay, I want to get back to the machine interpretation of commander's intent.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like, all right, I pull up to my house, I pull in the driveway. My intent is to go in the house and sit, you know, watch TV. Now, am I going to enter the house by smashing my truck through an exterior wall, or am I going to enter the house by getting a key off my keychain and unlocking the door? I mean, that, to me, I mean, that is a scary aspect. Machine interpretation of commander's intent.
I wonder if that's to eliminate the possibility of any, shall we say, freelancing out there, or overriding some orders or something like that.
I don't know. It could be.
Okay.
It could be, but I don't know. I'm not sure. This, like I said before, you know, the system sits on a global information grid, which is a, how can I explain this? It's a flexible, scalable, and a dynamic architecture in order to support multilateral civilian and military operations. This global information grid is going to be an important aspect as we go through this. Okay. Oh, here's another subheading in one of the papers, and it was entitled "The Process of Sense-Making in Complex Human Endeavors." Quote, "This approach uses a set of cognitive constructs that translates tacit knowledge to the focal knowing of the objective world." End quote. How are they accomplishing this? They're mapping your mind. That's how they're doing it. And they are creating these maps with all of the information that's being collected on everyone regarding every aspect of their life. Macrocognition. This is the process the system uses to dissect the human behavioral process. It's a cognitive and adaptive learning function, and this. I'm sorry, I'm stepping all over myself here. I'm sorry.
It's completely okay. Gives me time to catch up.
Okay. Oh, I'm embarrassed. Okay, the macrocognition component of the system, like I mentioned before, is a process of dissecting the human behavioral process. Okay, its cognitive and adaptive learning capabilities enables it to predict intent. Now, we're not talking on the military side here. We're talking on either the enemy or civilian side, whichever way you want to look at it. So it can predict intent of an adversary or target, as well as predict a range of potential behaviors of those targets. And it does this instantaneously. This doesn't require a bunch of military commanders sitting around a table, you know, going back and forth. Well, how should we handle this? I don't know. I think we should do it this way. The machine's making the system's making the decisions for them. Oh, here's another statement that was made in the paper entitled "The Tuesday Presentation to Justify the Rollout of Jade 2." And it says, quote, "For a joint commander to define an instruction set to a civilian or military joint force mission to transform a failing state to an agreed upon non-failing end state is a problem," end quote. Okay, and this section goes on to say that, you know, rapidly changing dynamics presents a cognitively difficult task for commanders and practitioners. And the system will do that too.
Good grief. This sounds monstrous, frankly. It doesn't even sound cool. It sounds...
It is. I think it is.
Scary.
It
Nefarious.
it gets worse when
Excellent.
you look at it. No. I mean, when you look at it as it is not the be all and the end all. This is just a sub layer, a layer on top of a much larger system that's already in place. Okay. Jade 2 can reconfigure its own network topography to optimize communication and data transfers. In one of my other reports, I talked about BBN technologies, use of bandwidth extenders on the cellular and wireless architecture networks. Well, this is what they're referring to. An example of this might look like, you're driving down the road, all of a sudden you lost cell phone service in a particular area or for a particular time, when in actuality, your bandwidth's been reallocated to the system. Because everything, absolutely everything, communications, everything else is tied into that global information grid.
Oh, man.
All right. Another command and control problem that these concept papers, they're not even concept papers because the software is being used now. Okay. Another command and control problem this system is designed to handle is the fact that the enemy has always been able to adapt to a rapidly changing environment to hide itself from exposure. In order to combat this problem, okay, the kill chain had to be compressed from hours to seconds. The system removes the administrative delay in the kill chain. It has no moral compass, no empathy, or regrets.
Wow.
Okay.
No empathy or regrets.
No, it's a computer program.
It doesn't
I don't think
care.
they bothered to program that in.
It's just like your gun. It doesn't care.
Right.
Okay,
right.
gotcha.
It depends who's putting the directives in it.
Yep.
And it's intended to achieve dominance of cyberspace, cyber power, and cyber strategy. This capability will continue to evolve, even though key technical, social, and information trends begin to stabilize.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
It'll capitalize on social engineering for offensive military and civilian operations. In other words, this is a technical approach to the tactics employed in Nazi Germany by the Stasi, the brown shirts, and the SS. This is just a technological version of those social engineering tactics they used then. It has a sophisticated decision support system for crowd control. And with the growing civil unrest, not only here in America, but around the world, this is going to be an integral aspect of Jade 2's deployment on the civilian population.
Okay.
Okay, now well, let me just say this and then move on to another section here. The hardware that this system's running on isn't your run-of-the-mill supercomputer, all right?
Your run-of-the-mill supercomputer.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's not a Cray. It's nothing like that. It's going to be running thousands of processors on a single chip. This is, without a doubt, the direction these command and control systems are moving toward. You just can't process the vast amounts of data being collected using conventional linear computing technology. You get to a diminishing point of return at some stage of the game here with these data dumps.
This is very disturbing. Now, can you hold your train of thought while I pop in and out?
Sure.
It seems to me, DJ, that this is why, while people are going, now, why would Obama or whomever is pulling his chain? Why would they fire all these highly competent military officers? Why are they firing these people who said they won't fire on U.S. citizens? Why are they? Because we don't need them anymore. Because somebody who's completely okay with that is going to make use of this computer apparatus to do the dirty work that they want to do, that these people who have been fired would not do.
I think you're exactly right.
Carry on, my dear.
Okay. Oh, this you're going to find interesting. It develops virtual models based on repetitive types of crimes that can predict future crimes that have not yet been committed by either individuals or groups in the COA or the civilian operation area, and then execute a course of action, a preemptive course of action. This is Minority Report's pre-crime technology.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, we can sum up the J2 system this way. I guess it's a self-organizing, vision-capable, expectation-capable, recognition-capable, situationally aware, emotional, intelligent, goal-oriented system. The system thinks, plans, and executes. Okay, now when I was doing, if I can share this with you, when I was doing the research on all of this, I kept recalling this demonstration that was put on by these MIT software engineers in the beginning days of AI. So it was probably about 20, 25 years ago. And they created a CGI, computer-generated image of a lamp on a standalone computer. They assigned the CGI, the lamp, okay, certain information regarding the material it was made of, natural laws like gravity and balance, and their goal was using the AI model to teach it, or more specifically, to have it learn how to dance. I know that sounds crazy, but these are, MIT guys. So not much was happening during the first few hours. They were running the program. So they kind of left the lab, went out, got something for lunch, went back to their dorms. When they returned to the lab the next morning, the lamp, okay, was twisting and spinning around on the computer screen. The engineers, although they were absolutely delighted that their experiment worked, issued a dire warning about putting this type of AI technology out, or I should say unleashing this technology on a distributed network. That CGI lamp, okay, was able to learn and evolve in 24 hours what it would have taken humans 1,000 generations to accomplish.
Jesus. Excuse me. Did I say that? Sorry. Sorry.
So,
1,000 generations.
generations, not years, 1,000 generations to accomplish. So it's
I feel like DiCaprio
evident.
depicting Howard Hughes in The Aviator. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. 1,000 generations. Good Lord, that's amazing.
I know, but
Okay,
it's
go ahead.
also amazing that that warning hasn't been heeded.
I'm quaking in me boots almost. Go ahead, let us have some more. Might as well give us everything.
Okay.
Good grief.
Okay. Well, why do you think so much hype's being generated about the Jade Helm 15 exercise?
Because there's so much secrecy around it. It involves so many people. It started off with 5 states, went to 7. I think I heard it climb as high as 9. Then it back down to 7. And what really got our attention in this part of the world was that Texas was designated a hostile state, along with Utah. Oh, where did they get that stuff anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there's also, I think, the largest concentration of gun owners in the Southwest than any other region of the nation. Now, I'm not positive about that, but I believe I read a blurb about that somewhere, someplace.
Yeah, there's a lot of shooting irons around. It's true.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, my take on this, based on what I've learned, is that there's a lot of real concern regarding this exercise and the concerns being expressed by people are valid. At first, I didn't get too worried about the Jade 15 exercise. I mean, I lived in New Mexico for 17 years, and as long as I can remember out there, the Blue Helmets were conducting exercises in the national parks and in the open space, playing soldier games out there.
Yes.
And then I came upon that SOCOM PDF that's now all over the internet, which kind of like got me into digging deeper and deeper into this thing. I came across that in early March and was somewhat unnerved by the information it contained. Now, I come from a family of military. Everybody was in the military. My son is in the military right now, serving active duty. But never before has a military exercise of this scale been conducted among the civilian population here in the States. Now, in early April, I had to fly back to Albuquerque, and as we were taxiing to the gate, I noticed scores and scores of ospreys, Blackhawks, and some Apaches on the Kirtland tarmacs there, because that Air Force base and the commercial airport sort of like butt up in the middle there. The military's on one side and the commercial aircraft's on the other. But what struck me as odd was that all of the military aircraft were all painted in like a flat black paint with no markings whatsoever on them. So it's not odd to see military aircraft at an Air Force base, but for as long as I can remember, they were either gray, camo tan, or camo green. Okay, and I stopped to visit a friend of mine in Albuquerque he's a retired full bird Air Force colonel, and he filled me in on the paint and the absence of markings. Stated, they'll do that when they're going to be running special operations. They just paint the aircraft back black and take all the markings off it. And I asked him if he had heard anything about, this Jade Helm exercise in the area. And he said he hadn't, not too much. So I filled him in, and he told me, well, DJ, you must have understood whatever you read or what you heard. And then I showed him the SOCOM PDF. And as he sat there reading it, he was getting these big furrows in his forehead, and he was just frowning more and more. And he just sat there shaking his head saying, they can't do this. I mean, this man, I've known him for years and years and years. He's career military. He loves this country. And he's deeply troubled about how far we've fallen. So anyway, to sum that part of it up, I think the hyper concern over this exercise is genuine, but I think it's also intentional.
Yeah.
The fear and the anxiety and the uncertainty and the secrecy, like you mentioned, of the exercise is being expressed over the internet, through social media and communications networks, and this data is being collected. It's all being harvested.
I'm pretty sure we're on a list somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah. It's funny how they manipulate to their own ends. Any kind of, I mean, this is really academic when you analyze it just a little closer than layman's level, and that makes perfect sense. How will they react to what we do? How can we use that to our advantage? Well, if it won't work, how can we make a little enhancement there so that it will work to our advantage? They got nothing to do all day except sit around and think about these things. They're brilliant people, evil geniuses in some ways. And they have nothing to do except examine all these possibilities. And they have computers to assist them and limitless amounts of taxpayer dollars to play with. I'm sure it's a happy hunting ground for that kind of research.
Mm-hmm. Have you been following any of the explanations regarding this exercise by these spokesmen from SOCOM?
Not really.
No?
No. Because I know they're not going to tell us the truth no matter what. So, I mean, why bother?
No, they're not. But, I mean, if you just look at how absurd they are. First, First, the fact that they're conducting what's supposed to be a realistic military training exercise with only 12 to 1,600 special forces troops over an area that encompasses about 25% of the landmass of America is crazy.
Yeah, I figured they were lying about that.
Yeah. So either that's not what they're doing because they don't have enough troops, or they're going to be employing a lot more troops than 1,600, and they're just not telling us. That's one possibility.
Or the third, or the other possibility, which is that about 1,200 troops is all we need when we roll out this monstrous technological marvel of ours, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, the second brilliant explanation that came out of the mouths of one of those guys speaking down in Texas said that the Southwest was chosen because of the physical terrain is very similar to the Middle East. So then, why have they brought in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Florida into the exercise?
Because of the barbecue and the fish, I guess.
I guess, yeah, and I guess the oasis is out in the desert. And this last one is pretty funny too. It was stated that these training exercises are necessary to better prepare our troops for unconventional warfare overseas. Now, first of all, Jade Helm is not a new concept. Okay? It was used in Iraq and Afghanistan in 2012 and 2013. I read the unclassified or declassified mission reports after the Jade Helm operation was executed over there, and it was touted as a huge success. Okay, it's my understanding when the military successfully performs an operation, as they did with Jade Helm in 2012, okay, it becomes a warfare policy or doctrine or strategy. So why the need to train for it again on American soil among American people? Okay, the line of bullocks that we're being fed coming out of the public relations spokesman for this exercise, that we have to better prepare our troops to blend in with the indigenous people in foreign countries, is absurd.
Yeah, after we've been over in foreign countries for 12 years, specifically the Middle East. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, not only that, but how is training U.S. troops to blend in among U.S. citizens that look like them, talk like them, have the same cultural memes as they do, going to help them to better blend in overseas with people who don't look like them, don't speak the language, or have the same cultural memes? I mean, they must really think we're idiots.
Well, I was driving in traffic today. I think they may be right because a thunderstorm came up and people were panicking over 6 inches of running water across the street, just, afraid they were going to be swept away. So, I don't know. They may have something there. I'm embarrassed to say they may think of us as idiots because we very well may be idiots. I would submit to you that we are. We probably wouldn't find ourselves in the position that we're in now. But anyway.
Yes, that's very true.
I digress slightly. Sorry.
No, that's a very important point I think you just made. So, anyway, going back to this Jade 2 software in conjunction with the Jade Helm 15 exercise, what do I think is going on? I think this thing is, among other things that it could be, is a giant psyop. Okay, and that's not to rule out the possibility of this whole exercise at some point going live. It's creating, through hype and hysteria and secrecy and anxiety, it's creating a range of emotional responses on the civilian side, as well as a force management planning response on the military side. Because as we've said over and over again, they're collecting data, all data, not some data, all data on everyone. Okay, the Jade Helm program, in my humble opinion, okay, is what we're seeing is a system rollout. Jade 2's been tested in limited areas in the past. And if I recall the papers, one of the papers I read indicated it was tested in Haiti during the earthquake. And I don't have, that paper in front of me right now, but I think it was also used during Hurricane Katrina or Hurricane Sandy. And, I think this exercise is, like I said before, among other horrific possible intentions, it's a system rollout. Okay? They're going to be running it through its paces, see how well it performs over a large geographic area with a dynamic human terrain. I mean, they're causing fear. Okay? And if something goes sideways with this exercise, if people die or there's an extensive loss or damage to private property, they're going to offer up some soldier and some commanding officer for the chopping block, and we're never going to hear anything about any of these casualty losses were due to a programming error or a problem with its thinking and execution function.
That's good thinking, DJ. Yep.
I mean, they're going to come. They got their tracks covered already. I mean, this thing's been planned. I think they think they have their ducks all in a line. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember how we mentioned earlier, we briefly touched on the Global Information Grid?
Yes.
Or the GIG? Okay. Jade doesn't bode well for the people in what we know of it right now. But Jade 2 is part of a much larger command and control system that goes beyond military applications. It's called GeoINT. Let me spell that. It's a capital GEO, capital I, capital N, capital T. It's the Geospatial Intelligence Network.
Okay.
It's everything Jade 2 and more. It's global in scope and everything regarding communications, the internet, social media platforms, just about everything now. If something has the word smart in front of it, smart grids, smart meters, smart
Phone.
appliances. Yeah, smartphone.
Smart
right.
TV, smart whatever.
They're all plugged into that grid. All of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So what role then does GeoINT, or the Geospatial Intelligence Network, play in a bigger picture? And what I've been able to find is that GeoINT is a tool for the proponents of global government in order for them to cast a neural net over humanity. How are they going to do that? I mean, humanity is 7 billion people. So how do you control 7 billion people?
I'm going to take a stab at it by having them inhale nanoparticles of metal to get them all turned into little antennas and then broadcast to them.
That's one possibility. But if you can control the environment they live in, you can control them.
Yep.
What GeoINT is, it's a complete, all-encompassing command and control system. This program or technology has found a way to circumvent humanity's resistance to RFID or microchipping the global population. Remember the uproar about that?
Oh, yes.
You know, mark of the beast, and don't take it, and don't take it. You won't be able to trade or anything. If you don't have this chip, you won't, the world as you know it will end if you don't take this chip. Well, this particular geospatial intelligence technology surpasses RFID, as RFID is a transmitter receiver, and it can be disabled or removed. When people are used as physical geolocated nodes on a network in a human terrain system, how do you remove that? Okay, nodes, let me try and explain it this way, John. Nodes can be removed on a network. For example, I'm sitting here in my office and my printer over there is a node on my network. Now I can go over and I can unplug that Ethernet cable. Now my computer system, if I look at my network map, that printer doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. I can't communicate with it. It can't communicate with me. I can't maintenance it. Nothing. It's not there. But I'm looking at it. It's sitting right there on my desk, but it's not recognized by the network. So if human beings are going to be used as nodes on this geospatial intelligence network, they can be removed just as easily with No impact on the network whatsoever.
Removed how?
Disconnect them. Erase everything about their data and eliminate the connectivity they have to the global information grid. I mean, look at what they're trying to do now. I mean, there's legislation before Congress to eliminate cash. Okay, everything has to be transacted electronically. So you remove that capability by removing the human node, or I should say you remove the human node by removing that capability, communications capability, earnings capability, everything.
They
People,
simply cease to exist.
as far as the network is concerned, yes. Yes.
I mean, it's like Stalin on steroids, where they would go into a family home and they would destroy the pictures, go down to the courthouse there, get rid of the school records, the photographs, the birth certificates, all of that, the driver's licenses, all gone. It's as though they have been erased from existence.
Exactly.
Only this is even better.
Or worse.
Well, I mean, more effective. That's what I mean by better.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
let me qualify that, please.
No. People, I mean, their plan, the big plan on this thing is that people will be reduced to the sum total of the data that's been collected on them. So how do you remove who you are? How do you what is who you are? It's the people you know, your family and personal relationships, financial profile, educational background, political, religious, personal interests and associations, travel and transportation habits, and the list goes on. It's everything about your activity. All the information, activity-based information, okay? They've been constructing this neural net for a number of years, and it's being supported and distributed by multinational intelligence collaboration, domestic interagency intelligence collaboration. This is your police, sheriff's department, emergency responders, all that. By the proponents of global governance, one world order, one world government.
This is very sobering. It's one thing if you think it, but when you're confronted with evidence that suggests that it's more than just a thought, that it is.
Oh, these are not my thoughts, John. All of this information I'm presenting I've gone through several hundred pieces of paper in documents, reports, system concepts, system development, software capabilities, the whole 9 yards. This is what they're telling each other this stuff does, okay? I'm just relaying this to you.
Oh, I understand. I didn't mean I didn't mean to suggest that you were, well, yeah, I didn't mean to suggest these were your thoughts. This is your analysis of their thoughts and their creation. I get it.
Mm-hmm. And the GeoINT system or network, and this is a common, the phrase mastering the human domain also appears hundreds of times throughout these papers for GeoINT, as well as for the Jade 2 software, as well as for the Jade Helm 15.
The domain part, that confuses me just a little bit. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I thought the domain is, well, it is domain rather than domicile. So spell it out for us, DJ. What is meant by domain?
All right, the domain is, from the GeoINT standpoint and from the Jade 2 standpoint, it works based off three concepts, okay? Human dynamics, human terrain, and human geography, okay? They're digitizing all of this data on this information. Domestic threat centers, what are they called? Threat assessment centers?
Yeah.
That have popped up in every state in the country now, and some states have multiple threat assessment centers in them. They're not just here in the U.S., they're global, and they're an integral part of this program from a data collection standpoint, okay? They will be exploiting the human dynamics of the people of a region or nation-centric population area, which would be your large cities or your large cultural regions, that type of thing. They're going to do this through the use of ABI, which I briefly mentioned before. And what ABI is, it's activity-based intelligence, gathered from where? From open source data. What's open source data? Places like Facebook, LinkedIn, the internet, cloud computing, cloud storage, social networking platforms, cell phones, and the list goes on. Okay? ABI is defined as all aspects of human activity. It's the presence of activities, transactions, both physical and virtual, okay? Cultural, structural organizations, networks, and their interrelationships with each other, motivation, intent, vulnerabilities and capabilities of humans as single individuals or as groups or in the context of large population-centric areas across all domains of the operational environment: air, land, sea space, and cyberspace. Okay? All collected data, now get this, all collected data is to be geolocated to a specific spot on the Earth and then tied to a human node on the network. Remember you asked before, well, how do they unplug you from the network?
Yeah.
That's how. Okay, this process in the realm of GeoINT is known as georeferencing. Okay, the philosophy module in this beast, okay, which is an extension of the AI foundation, is using two rather ominous or juxtaposition concepts that I really don't understand, but I'm going to throw them out there anyway and try and explain them in case somebody in your audience understands this better and can correct me on this. Those two concepts are data neutrality and sequence neutrality. Okay? Data neutrality means that all data is equally viable in the analytic process of ABI, activity-based intelligence. Let me see if I can explain that. Okay, it's like you have three people and you tell them, you put them up against a house, a building, okay? But they can only stand 1 inch from that building. And one person is an inch from a glass window, another person's an inch from the brick wall, another person's an inch from the molding around the front door, okay? Now, what this says to me, this data neutrality, all data is equally viable, each of those three people are going to describe in their own conceptual context what they're seeing. None of it is correct, okay, in as far as each of them are actually looking at a building, okay, but each person's description is equally valid in as to what they're describing to you. Did I? Okay.
What did you just hear?
What did I just hear?
Yeah, did you just hear something? Because you went, okay, I heard a little noise, and then I heard you go, No, Ghost is shaking his head. Okay, no anomalies. All right, fine. I'm imagining things. Okay. Carry on.
Okay, now sequence neutrality states that not only is all data viable, as we pointed out with the example of the three people looking at the house or the building from 1 inch away, but no matter how the data is sequenced, okay, it has equal value. And let me try and explain this. For example, take these two sentences. Will you do it, which is an action string or an action sequence of words. Will you do it? And do you will it, which is an intent. Those words are sequenced in a way that it is projecting intent.
Yes.
Now, in this concept that this system is using, Both of these data sets have equal value, even though the original phrase was, or may have been, it will do you. Okay? Do you see how it, I don't know, I see potential just for great logic problems with this.
Yeah, I do too. But because you're saying sequence neutrality, meaning all of the sequences have equal value. Is that correct?
Right, no matter how the data is arranged in it. So we just use an example using words as data in a string or a sequence. All three of those 4 or 5 word sentences, okay, have different values in the meanings and even different actions in the value of those meanings, one being an action and one being an intent. You see what I mean? See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Trying very feebly to communicate here.
No, we're getting it. It's a huge concept. Just keep rolling. You're doing great.
Okay, and then they go on to further explain that this is how the system is able to generate answers to questions that haven't been asked.
Oh my God! I knew you were going to say that.
Oh my God! Yeah, they said this. This is right in the papers. I mean, I would say that this is actually generating answers to questions that never existed in the first place. If you take it one step further down the road,
Yes.
So I don't know. I think I think some of these concepts, at least the way I read them and understood them, are very ominous. I mean, this thing. I can see this thing going sideways.
It's like a god. It's like an artificial god mind or something.
Oh my God! You just hit on something that I wasn't going to talk about till the end.
This is where. Okay, we can save it for the end if you want to.
But the ABI, or the activity-based intelligence system, which is the driving force behind the artificial intelligence architecture, breaks the human domain down into 4 main categories. And this, again, John, goes back to bulk data collection. Okay, those 4 categories are the biographical data. That's who you are. Individual activity data, which is what you do. Relational data, which is who you know. Family members, personal relationships, organization memberships, religious affiliations, all that kind of stuff. The last and most important, and this one is key, contextual data. Information about the environment in which the entity, or you, or me, the human network node, is found. Excuse me. That would be demographics, political environment, cultural norms, social interactions, tribal customs. It's the glue in the ABI's ability to map the human domain. That's what that contextual data set is. Okay. Do you remember the Obama phone scandal?
Yes.
That big fat lady, I got my Obama phone. Obama gave me a phone. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She later went, well, it ain't happening.
Yeah, she later was not very happy with him. I guess she didn't get her car or her house or whatever. But anyway, this was a means, okay, to put the required technology into the hands of people who couldn't afford it so that they too could be tracked on this global information grid. It doesn't stop there, though. Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, okay, just announced that they're both on a quest to bring the internet, and Zuckerberg with his Facebook and wireless cell phone technology to the people of third world nations. Now, what do you think an African tribe is going to do out there sitting using Facebook? But that's their goal. I mean, they've stated they want to do this. This is a quest.
Well, I hope both of those idiots go to sub-Saharan Africa and run into some cannibals and wind up in the pot. That would be excellent. And somebody puts that on Facebook.
Yes, and they put it on Facebook. Okay, But, getting back, and none of this stuff, John, I have to tell you, actually clicked at the time I was hearing about this until recently. It all just started pulling together. Okay? Do you think they're doing this out of compassion or out of the goodness of their heart? No, the plan is to data collect and track every person, every piece of data associated with them on the planet. Or if not everyone, as many of them as they can. And then, screw everybody else, I guess. That's
Pretty
their
much.
intent, pardon me.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the presenters commented flat out, and this is on the GeoINT symposium. This particular symposium I'm referring to was 2 hours long. But he said, and quote, "If you're not collecting all data, you're not going to get a good human terrain," end quote. This is GeoINT.
If you're
Global
not
information.
collecting all the data, you're not
All
going
data.
to get a good human terrain print?
Human terrain.
Oh, just a
I
good
mean-
human terrain. Okay, gotcha.
Right,
I added
right.
a word. Sorry.
A human terrain map or topography or tool. Okay, you're not going to get it. It'll be flawed. And
We have to have all the data, or we might as well have none of the data.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
The system is able to decode coded information to find the signal in the noise. Now, this gets into a very interesting area as well. Translation, data encryption is no longer an issue for them. There will be no aspect of privacy on this system.
All right. You know what I think we better do? I think we better pause for 5 minutes. I need to go and let the helium out of my head. I feel like Moses coming down from the mountain. After being illuminated. I feel like Moses. Those depictions in ancient art of Moses coming down from the mountain, and his head's about 3 times the size it was when he went up there. That's how I feel right now.
I apologize. I tried to simplify this,
No, you're doing
I tried
beautifully.
to shrink it down, because it was so much data. It was so much
That's
technical
like getting
information.
the Cliff Notes version of the Bible. You can't do it. I'll tell you what. Let's just pause for 5 minutes and resume, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, stretch your legs, get a drink of water, and we'll be back in 5. This is amazing, DJ. Don't make any mistake about that. Me and the crew are looking at each other like, "Are you getting this?" And we're looking back at each other like, "Yeah, I think so." I've got. I'm gonna do some head wrapping here. I hope I don't wind up with an elongated skull, but I kind of need to wrap it sort of tightly there. So anyway, you just carry on. We'll hang with you.
Okay, another portion of the GeoINT symposium that I picked up on was the fact that there are emerging new professional fields coming out of this massive, massive technology. They're unrolling. I shouldn't say unrolling. It's already rolled out. I don't think it's all connected up yet. I don't think the proverbial switch has been flipped. But 2 of those interesting emerging fields were what they call human geographers and human cartographers. And these are just a couple of the new professions that have been identified and staffed already in these. I can't even call it organization, GeoNet, GeoINT. I think it goes way beyond that. But these positions have already been staffed, and their role is to develop a tapestry, so to speak, of all aspects of human behavior, human emotion, and reactions. Okay. A common tagline or a theme throughout the GeoINT symposium, the 2-hour symposium, the papers that are available online and that's this, and I find this very troubling, okay, is that there are currently too many people involved at the geopolitical level, and what they're specifically referencing is government and military decision-making authorities to determine who is actually in charge. All right, this is a problem for them. So they intend to eliminate this uncertainty by placing an AI-based network-centric global system in charge.
Sounds like Skynet out of Terminator, doesn't it?
Yeah, or the Borg out of Star Trek or
Yes,
something.
or both.
A combination.
A combo. Yeah.
The fact that the system can and will be used to kill people was also addressed in the symposium. And this was emphasized in a statement by one presenter stating, quote, "That's the price you pay for the advancement of this technology, and we're willing to make those sacrifices," end quote.
What exactly does that mean?
It means that they know that the system, in its testing phases this is what I think it means. They know that the system, due to its advanced technological capabilities that it can perform, is going to make occasional mistakes. I don't know, programming errors, whatever. And it's going to kill people accidentally. But, we're willing to pay that price until we get this right. That's what I think they're saying.
That's kind of what it sounded like, yeah.
Okay. It, you know, I mean, this is just hairy. It depicts crisis. It can depict crisis resolution and pre-crisis action, just like the Jade 2 system in the Jade Helm 15 exercise can do. The segment that was presented by Doug Weinstein, remember him? He was the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense Intelligence. He stated that there is a growing need for more data collection to better define the human dimension or human terrain. Okay, the latest, I think, the latest mainstream media and political hype, that we're hearing regarding the NSA's spying's it's being removed from the Patriot Act. That's a smokescreen. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's an outright lie. The network architecture's already in place, and the data dumps are being done automatically now by this grid. Okay? Computer systems don't abide by legislation. They didn't spend billions of dollars on this technology only to pass a law demanding we shut it down. NSA data collection's not going away, it's being taken over by the geospatial intelligence network and everything plugged into it.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Okay, GeoINT's main objective, and I know I've said this before, and at the risk of repeating myself, it's to achieve centralized command and control over humanity. Every human will become a node and a sensor on the GOG from a network-centric standpoint, and from a material or a physical standpoint, they'll become a human inventory item in the system. The system's also been collecting biometric data on everyone. Okay, this is required so that every human sensor or node on the network will have its own unique bio API, or biological application program interface. And this is how they'll circumvent the RFID or microchipping that we talked about earlier. Okay, the system, it'll develop and execute directives based on its interpretation of political will. What's that? It will develop and execute directives, its own directives, based on its interpretation of political will. They're not referencing the political will of nation states. There won't be any. They're talking about the political will of one global centralized government.
You bet. That's exactly what this is.
Okay. Um, as you know, and again, at the risk of sounding redundant, predictive software or AI is at the core of this GeoINT system, just like in the Jade software system that I had done a report on a while ago. Same technology, bigger scope. Okay, the system's able to change natural outcomes of human activity by predicting human behavior and reacting to it before it occurs. Think about that for a minute. Predict human behavior and react to it before it occurs.
Good Lord.
Now, they're serious about this. They have two technologies on the books, and both of these technologies are significant, and they're interconnected to several other um, policies, executive orders, programs, military systems, this GeoINT system, uh, in a couple of different ways. They're called edge and illicit. Okay, I can explain them to you, but they're kind of boring. Um, they're key components for this prediction and reaction. And they're referenced not only in the J2 final report, but also in the 1033 program. And they are also referenced in Executive Order 13684, which is 21st Century Policing of America and Intelligent-Led Policing too. This is key technology. What EDGE is, or what it does, I'm going to try and condense down dozens and dozens of pages. It formulates that fine line in the human nodes on the network, okay? Those fine boundaries of the node that's you, that connects you to somebody else, to somebody else, to somebody else, to somebody else, okay? That's basically what the edge technology does. Now, illicit is a little different. It's a think tank collaboration. It is for information sharing and trust between law enforcement, community organizers, emergency responders, and things of that sort. You know, your domestic peacekeeping tools.
Yeah.
The illicit platform is the main theme in the 1033 program and in Executive Order 13684, which is Obama's vision for America, also known as 21st century policing. All right? This concept, this think tank-based initiative, is a paramount to the Stasi in Nazi Germany, with an added dose of network-centric technology and military-grade equipment being thrown into the mix just for fun. And they're referenced in those orders and those policing programs.
Unbelievable.
There was an entire segment of this symposium that focused on the harvesting of all commercial data. What? So I had to read on that more and dig more into this. I mean, it started raising the question, you know, I wonder why no one's been allowed to read the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement.
Yeah.
And then they tried to fast track it through Congress with nobody even reading it. I mean, since that didn't go as planned, they've now repackaged it and they're trying to fast track it through under the title of the TPA. I think these things tie in definitely.
Oh, absolutely, they do. And in fact, there was a report about one of the main shills for this, a woman who was trying to get some of the other people in Congress to go along with it, admitted that she had not read it at all. I'll tell
Amazing.
you.
Amazing. The one thing these people are paid to do up there, they're falling on their face on. I mean, it's the one thing they're supposed to do, pass legislation. And they're not even reading it.
You know, it's a matter of some speculation as to who exactly is holding what size gun to these people's heads, because the Senate got overturned, and now the Republicans are in control, and they're not doing anything differently than anybody else, with a couple of exceptions. At least Rand Paul has said you need to make the text public. So we'll see how far he gets with that. And it appears that there's some setbacks in the Obamacare thing and some other things, but good grief! I mean, largely they're just useless. I mean, you don't have to have an IQ over about 62 to figure out that these people aren't making any decisions on their own.
No.
They're being manipulated by somebody else because they bumble too much. There's nothing smooth about their presentation, or they go out with a bold statement and then they have to retract it, and they're just kind of like they're standing there just blithering. It doesn't even make their explanations make no sense, and that only happens in my experience when you don't really know how deep the waters are that you're swimming in, but you've just been given a signal that you need to change course and also change depth a little bit, but you have no idea how deep it is really, and you don't know who's given the orders. You just know that you better take them. That's how they react in my view.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty obvious to most people now that most of these people up there are not under their own control. I mean, they're getting their marching orders and their directives and their agendas from someplace else.
Well, it says
it's not the American people.
No, it's not. It says right here. This is a fresh headline. It's going right across the Drudge Report. The Republicans rush vote on Obama trade before anyone reads it. Well, there you go. The Republicans.
I mean, how many times do we have to be lied to about so many different things before we just stand up and say, enough, we're not taking this anymore?
I'm just wondering what the future of a revolution is. But anyway, we'll talk about that later, maybe, if we feel
It doesn't look very bright.
No, it doesn't.
In the context of this.
No, not at all. It's like, oh, no, you can't do any of those things. What do you mean we can't dissent? No. We can't revolt? No. We can't protest? No. Okay, what do we do? Conform at once, or we'll delete you, node.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good Lord. Okay, carry on, my dear.
Okay. Well, we talked about, massive data collection to ad nauseum in this report here. But they're not only collecting data using the methods we already know about in order to populate these huge data dump facilities like the one in Bluffdale. They're now also employing technology called dirt boxes. Have you heard of those?
Which boxes?
Dirt
boxes. Yeah, boxes. I did see the term pop up, but I went past it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this technology is installed on private planes, and in a single sweep, they can pull information from tens of thousands of cell phones. Yeah. I'm not just talking about your phone number and where your phone is on the GPS coordinates. I'm talking about all the data stored on your phone, your mobile banking information, Facebook, social media networking files, passwords to secure applications, the applications on your phone, sites you may have stored on there, in addition to all the other stuff we know they're collecting on us. So now they've got this dirt box technology, and it's a piece of hardware that they're using private planes, flying over neighborhoods, up and down roads, mostly in populated areas, because the more concentrated the technology is in a particular area, the more they're going to scoop up on a sweep with these dirt boxes. And then that information is all going into the data dump as well. So mastering the human domain okay, and this is, again, we're in the context of GeoINT now, okay, represents a shift in focus from nation states to individuals. GeoINT will put a clamp down on individuals, groups, or population-centric areas before an event, demonstration, or rebellion, just like you mentioned, can occur. Okay, the lines between the military and the government haven't just been blurred, they've been removed with this system. If there is still any doubt about this, I'd like to read this from the SOCOM RSOF 2022 report regarding command and control of the human domain. Okay?
Very good.
Quote, while the rise of non-state transitional actors will serve to complicate U.S. government actions throughout undergoverned nations, we cannot afford to discount the actions of state-sponsored actors who operate much like other violent extremist organizations, only with the state's direction and support. Countries where state-sponsored, non-state, and transnational actors operate typically have weak, corrupt central governments, high unemployment, high poverty levels, limited or failing infrastructure, deep ethnic and religious divisions, and a history of humanitarian issues. End quote. Sound like any place you know?
It sounds like the Middle East, and it sounds like ISIS.
Sounds like here, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, ISIS is here.
Yeah. Yeah. ISIS is everywhere and nowhere. They're everywhere.
As this black guy said yesterday, it ain't ISIS, it's USIS.
That's good. Right. Okay, so why are they even contemplating dropping this neural net on humanity? I mean, why do you think this is even an issue? I'm asking because I want to know what you think.
In the grand scheme of things, I have to go back to the Holy Scriptures, because all of this is written of in the Holy Scriptures, known as the Bible. Of course, the moment that you say that, it's like, oh, one of those guys. It's like, yes, one of those guys. One of those guys who knows all the words, tries very hard not to use them as much as I would like to. But other than that, the enslavement of humanity, I'm thinking that qualifies as evil.
Yeah.
And particularly when it's done under the guise of, we're prepared to lose a few people here and there. But, you know, it's like that time-worn phrase about the forest fire. Ah, from the blackened floor of the forest will sprout new life. It'll be beautiful. It'll be a beautiful thing. And you'll soon forget about the horror of the extermination of everything that lived in that forest before the fire, and the horror that occurred during the fire. Everything will be fine in the end. It's all part of our plan. It just sounds nuts. But you may have an entirely different take on it, so let it rip.
No, I totally agree with you, and I pretty much think that is one of the main concepts behind Agenda 21 as well. I mean, what I think is happening, and they're getting ready to do this, is that one reason is that people are awakening at an accelerated pace.
Yes.
Right now. I mean, 7 years ago, if you would have told me, or 10 years ago, you could talk to 10 people and 3 of them, you could talk to them about these conspiracies. I won't even call them theories. You could talk about these conspiracies. 7 out of 10 of them will think you're an idiot. Well, now it's like 7 out of 10 of them will probably agree with you. That may be a high estimate, but I think you get my drift. Okay?
I do. I think you're right.
The lies and deceit by way of misdirection they're having less and less impact on the general population, and they're aware of this. They know this. Their propaganda machines are breaking down. What was it? It was William Casey, retired director of the CIA. He stated, and I quote, but I'm paraphrasing here, is that we will know our operation. And I believe the operation he was referring to was Operation Mockingbird.
Yes.
Has succeeded when everything the people know is false. That came out of the mouth of the outgoing director of the CIA.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting that you say that, and it dovetails nicely into the recent revelation that inflicting propaganda on the American people is perfectly legal and perfectly acceptable. And they've said so.
Well, what did Nancy Pelosi say?
Which
She said,
time?
oh, yeah, right. Well, it's not against the law to lie.
Mm-hmm. Did she really say that?
Yes, she did. Now, they were asking her about something along those lines about propaganda and not telling the American people the full truth. And may have even had something to do with Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction. And of course, she was out there beating the drums. Yeah, we got to go blow them up and before they blow us up. And, they asked her, well, wasn't that just a lie? I mean, if you had the information. And her response was, well, it's not against the law to lie.
She is a monstrous excuse of a human being, in my opinion.
Oh.
Seriously, and I'll just state that for the record, Nancy.
Well, I totally agree.
It's disgusting. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway, the bottom line is they're losing the battle for our minds. People, slowly as it's taken to happen, they're starting to be able to connect the dots themselves, and they're starting to develop some modicum of being able to think for themselves and not have to be told by a TV set or a Barbie doll news anchor, what they're supposed to be thinking and feeling and buying and wearing and, voting for and everything else. I think they're just starting to wake up. And this scares the bejesus out of these people. And for good reason. For good reason.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why I have visions of the French Revolution, payday, dancing through my head right now. I'm trying to ward them off, but it's tempting, just for momentary amusement. I mean, these people have caused countless deaths, untold misery, and they're just they're well paid for it. And like you just said, wow, I can't believe she said, well, it's not against the law to lie. Really? Okay. Actually, it is, just not your law.
Yeah, just not in your world. So anyway, John, up until recently, I was of the same opinions as many other people, and that was that the amount of data that they're collecting on everyone is just so vast, they'll never be able to find anything meaningful in these massive data dumps they're amassing. And just like the endless printing of money, endless data collection has a point of diminishing returns. And meta tagging or metadata, like we talked about before,
yeah,
okay, is only useful to a point before these indexing features start returning so much information for the algorithms to process that the system actually starts bogging itself down. Now, conventional data processing, as we know it, starts out as binary code, zeros and ones, and then data is processed sequentially or in a linear manner. Processed data can have a one-to-one or a one-to-many relationship in a database. Now, throw into that mix quantum computing.
Yes.
Quantum computing takes all the standard principles we know about computers, networking, and data processing and tosses that out the window. This technology is based on a whole new level of physics using principles of particle mechanics and quantum entanglement. Now, this involves a particle state. Quantum computing involves a particle state known as superposition. What is superposition? superposition.
Oh, I was hoping you'd ask and answer.
It enables particles to have a value of 1 and 0 at the same time. Now, I'm not a physicist, but I'm going to try and explain the best I can how this works and how this changes the whole landscape of computing as we know it, and in the context of these massive data dumps they're collecting. Okay, information is broken down into quantum bits or qubits. Okay, these superposition particles can pass through any conventional data barrier we have now. And because they exist or reside in two places or in two spaces simultaneously, they can unlock every digital vault in the world.
I believe it. I can kind of conceptualize internally here how that could work.
Mm-hmm. Now here it gets even stranger, and that's another thing I found in reading a bunch of documentation on this quantum computing. The word spooky. You know how the word smart meter we talked about before, smart car, smartphone, smart, all bad. Mm-hmm. It refers to one particular segment of technology. Well, in this realm, the word spooky, I saw pop up more than a dozen times. Spooky tech, spooky data, spooky computing, spooky. So when you hear that word, think quantum computing. This is what they're alluding to, okay? Now, the qubits, as I mentioned before, are arranged in blockchains, kind of like Bitcoin. And remember we talked earlier about the use of synthetic biology and synthetic bioAPIs.
Yes.
Well, what does DNA look like? It could be described as a double twisted chain or a helix.
Indeed.
Indeed it can. And this level of computing technology will perform in seconds what would have taken conventional computers the equivalent of millions, not a million, millions of years.
No.
Yes. Okay. Listen to this. We're talking about processing power of 2 to the 512th power of operations being performed simultaneously.
How do you know these things, DJ?
I looked them up.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
That was an easy one. Okay, fine.
No, I started, I just kept going, drilling down. Okay, now when we're talking about this computing power of 2 to the 512th power of operations being performed simultaneously, the author of this particular paper that I was reading put it in, and I'm quoting what he said there, that's more calculations than atoms in the universe by orders of magnitude, end quote. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around that. I'm just like, whoa. And that's what I'm having a brain lapse now. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's called the D-Mark. Hold on. D-Wave. That was the first generation of the D-Wave quantum box, the first quantum computer that was actually sold and is being used. It was 2 to the 512th power of operations. The power of these computers, that, remember how we were talking about, you can't possibly process all the information they're collecting and putting in these data dumps. It's just too much. You reach a point of diminishing returns, right?
Yeah.
The power of these computers increases exponentially with the number of qubits or data being pumped through them. Wow. It's like, John, if you can imagine, it's like trying to open a combination lock, but you have at your disposal all of the conceivable number sequences simultaneously, and you can hit that lock simultaneously with every conceivable number combination on that lock. Boom, it opens immediately.
Click. Yeah. Yeah, and you just answered a question that's been dogging me for a long time, and because I've said this many times, that with all this massive collection of data, the weak link in the chain of resolution is the human being, and the human being's ability to track with all of this and use it. But it appears the human being is effectively being taken out of the chain.
Well, they're out of the equation.
What's that?
They're out of the equation.
Yeah, completely. Because they simply they don't work. They have no place in the equation. Man. Okay, so that explains why they proceed with it. Because the layman, like myself, we stand outside and go, "You guys can't handle all this data." It's like, well, because the human being is the weak link in the chain. It's like, we've already figured that out. We've taken the human being out of the equation. Good grief. This is amazing. It really is. It's too bad that, well, maybe, I wonder if anybody has tried to apply this sort of thing to any sort of a positive experience for humanity, or maybe
Hell no.
Well,
We don't
hell
use
no.
technology. No.
Where's the fun there,
Don't
right?
be silly. No, all this emerging technology always first goes to military and intelligence and government organizations. And the last thing they're going to do is apply it to good in humanity. Now, I don't want your listeners to think I'm some type of a technophobe. I'm not. If anything, I'm a geek, okay? And I love technology. I think technology in the right hands can do wonderful things for humanity. Unfortunately, it never ends up there. And I think we've seen that all the way from, the atomic bomb to nuclear reactors, and, the list goes on. But anyway, I digress.
Me too. It's my fault. I'm a bad influence.
No, you're not. All encryption available today is totally useless in the face of this technology, and the best guess estimated by cryptographers in the field working in quantum computing is that it will take at least 10 years to develop an encryption standard that will work in this realm. My question is, what happens during those 10 years?
Yeah. Yeah, the only way that something like that could work is if your encryption continually changed at a three-digit exponential rate, continuously, to a corresponding device that could do that trick that was proprietary in nature, so it could do the trick that you just described with the combination lock, so that it had all of those things available. All those, wow. Oh, I don't even want to think about it. I can't think about it, really.
I know. I mean, let's look at some of who the tech giants are that are heavily involved in this.
Okay. Should we buy stock? I'm just kidding.
I mean, don't support them.
No.
IBM, Leidos Corp, ICG, Digital Reasoning, Google, BAE Systems, Microsoft, defense contractors across the board, and government intelligence agencies. These are the major companies and buyers and investors in this type of technology. As a matter of fact, Google just partnered with NASA in 2013 to purchase D-Wave 2. Now, remember how we talked about the 2 to the 512th power, processing power?
Yeah.
The D-Wave 2 processes at, I believe, 2 to the 1,152nd power.
Gotcha.
Okay, it's inconceivable, the amount of processing power these machines can perform. It makes my head hurt. Oh,
what I'm wondering is where did this information to develop this stuff come from? I mean, the first place that I'd reach is off planet. I mean, I can't imagine that just regular old human beings came up with this stuff.
I think it came from CERN, and I'll explain why. Okay, so they're already out there and in use. At least we know the D-Wave 2 is. Okay, Google and NASA bought it, and I bet you it's not sitting mothballed in a closet somewhere.
Mm.
They're using it. And we're not hearing about it because it's not making front page news, and the mainstream media is not even covering it. Okay, here's a quote from Singularity Hub. They're a publication out there that does a lot of this, atomic level physics and that type of thing. They had an article in there about this quantum computing, specifically on the D wave, and the writer, the author wrote, quote, these, meaning these quantum computers, will change the balance of power in business and cyber warfare. They have profound national security implications because they are the technology equivalent to, you ready for this? A nuclear weapon.
Mm-hmm. Talk about asymmetrical warfare.
And this just takes that to a whole new level.
Oh, yeah.
And now you had asked about, where do they get this technology from? Off planet? It may be coming from off planet.
So CERN opened a portal, and in walked a little purple guy and said, "You see this?" And everybody went, "Yeah. What is it?"
Watch what it can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But regarding CERN, every time they fire that thing up, okay, they're collecting more data regarding a realm of physics we know little about, a realm of physics that these quantum computers will be operating in. Scientists still don't even know or understand where these qubits go and retrieve answers to highly complex computations. One theory is that they can traverse dimensions of time and space. And another theory is that these quantum bits or qubits are traveling through different dimensions. I would tend to think, and this is just me thinking out loud here, that CERN has found a way to fold dimensions in on another and then tunnel through them.
You're amazing. I'm just going to state that for the record. Okay, I've stated it. Fold dimensions in on each other and tunnel through them?
Yep.
How many dimensions are we talking here?
Well, there is, last count, there's 26 that they have, quote unquote, identified. I don't know.
Is that all? Only 26?
26 dimensions. Now, if they've found a way to fold these things on top of each other,
yes.
Like the shortest point between, or the shortest distance between 4 points, like say on that connect dots on a piece of paper, you would think, oh, well, I have to draw a line to this one, then to this one, then to, oh, no, maybe to this one. No, that's not the shortest point. The shortest point is to fold that piece of paper 4 times in a way you can pierce it and connect
go in a straight line.
4 of those dots simultaneously.
Yeah.
That's the shortest point.
That's pretty cool.
That's what I think CERN has either found out how to do or they're just on the verge. Okay, the CERN, among other things I could glean from that project there, is that they're working on one segment of it anyways. They're working on how to map or how to model consciousness. What is it? How does it operate? They're looking for technological answers to questions like, what is the soul? Where does it go when our bodies die? And ultimately, how to master the answers to these questions that humanity's been asking since the beginning of time. And so as far as their stated, their stated objective or goal, well, we're searching for the God particle, and that's the tagline that goes out about CERN. We're looking for the God particle, and that's what's being put out there for the masses to consume. And I don't think they're doing that at all. I think what they're looking for are the keys to unlock an advanced level of technology so they can become God or gods over humanity.
I think you are entirely correct. I really do. And that threat, here we go again, wasn't that threat already written in Scripture that that's precisely what the Dark One promised could happen to those who follow that dark, otherwise known as evil, entity? You will be as God. No big deal. Follow me. And they do.
Yep.
Can it
It's
really,
got
DJ, can it really be that simple? I think the answer is yes, it can.
well, I mean, everything started falling into place pretty quickly, you know, as I was reading these papers and flashbacks of things that had happened 4 or 5 years ago, that the government had said, the military had said, things they wanted to do, things they were trying to accomplish. You know, it all just like started clicking and it started falling into place. This is how they're going to do it. They're not going to, people aren't going to go along with the microchipping. You know, people aren't go aren't going to go along with a lot of the proposals coming out of these psychopaths in government. So how do we control so many people? You take complete command and control of the environment they exist in.
Wow. I'm sorry to say that unfortunate word over and over again, but this is just staggering. Literally. I mean, that's the word, staggering. And they're doing it. It's left the realm of theory.
Oh no, this is not theory. This thing is rolled out. It's rolled out. Now, like I mentioned before, I don't think all of the, let's call them components of the network have all been plugged in, although they may have. I don't think they've flipped the switch yet. I think this Jade Helm 15 exercise, rolling out the Jade 2 software, is a system test. It's a test to see how well that system can react in controlling the people. Now, I could be completely wrong. I could be way off base, and it's nothing more than a military drill, but I don't think so.
Let me ask you this: what will the observable effects of a successful test be?
Well, I think one of the observable effects will be, all right, people are planning a demonstration like they did recently in Phoenix at the mosque down there.
Yeah.
Okay, they'll be monitoring all of that. They will have police already set up before any of that information ever hits the airwaves or the news. They'll be waiting. I think that's one of the things you can look for.
Much like the biker deal in Waco.
Yeah. Were the police there ahead of time, or?
Oh, you bet they were. Too many two in the body, one in the head, the target is dead scenarios there, combined with corpses on the ground which do not bleed. It really is quite a confusing mess.
Wow. So those are some of the things you can look for. You can look for preemptive positioning for crowd control, that type of thing. Now, with respect to the Jade Helm exercise, the only thing I can recommend to your listeners out there is not from the realistic military training aspect of this exercise, but from the back end that we're talking about. Do not participate. Do not display an emotional response to it. This is exactly what they're counting on, okay? It appears that negative emotions, fear, anger, anxiety, are trigger points for this system to kick off an execution plan. Remember, emotional behavior, physical behavior, activity behavior outside of the norm identifies targets.
We're going to have to become like Zen / underground warrior priests and priestesses, it sounds like. Talk about steady your mind.
Yeah. Steady your emotions. And above all, no fear. Don't be afraid of this operation from either standpoint, the military standpoint or the system standpoint. When you're in a state of fear or you're in a state of anger, you do not make good decisions. And the system's predicated on that.
And the system is predicated on that.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you something. I've had some pretty interesting conversations over the years, but I'm about to award this one the proverbial cake. I think this one takes the cake. Even if everything you said was wrong, and I don't think it is, by the way, it's still just so complex, so diabolical, so screwed up in this beautifully engineered way that you really have to kind of step back and admire it. Just like, wow, that is extraordinarily monstrous.
Oh, yes, it is.
But I'll tell you, this makes too much sense. It makes entirely too much sense. And I have to tell you that this is one of those deals where I can't say, oh, I should have seen that coming. I didn't see it coming. The only thing that I felt I had a high confidence about was that, no, we haven't nailed it yet. There have been a lot of smart people come on the program. They are smart. They're very smart. and they've given us their opinions. But none of them grabbed me like this one. And that's nothing against them. I'm just saying, that's right, the women are smarter. You know that thing, that song, the old song, the women are smarter?
No. Nobody's ever sung that to me.
We may have to play that one. Yeah, listen, I'm just, all I can do is blither and try and be an interesting conversationalist at this point, because I got to tell you, you've just filled my head with so many possibilities that I'm just trying to keep them at bay without forgetting any of them so I can delve into them in some quiet moments later. And that's not really the best way to conduct a conversation. So I think I'll take the polite path and just say, please just tell us anything else that you want to, because this is amazing.
Well, with respect to GeoINT,
Yeah.
okay, with respect to Jade Helm, the key is don't participate, don't display an emotional response. The sensors and the data collection, social network, they're going to be picking up on that data, and they're counting on it, okay? And like I said, it appears that the system responses are triggered by negative emotions. Now, with respect to GeoINT, okay, this is a much bigger issue, okay? You would have to get off the technological grid to the best of your individual ability, and that is much easier said than done. What they've done was, we've been provided with all of this wonderful technology to make our lives more convenient and easier and more interconnected, and what they've turned around and done is they've turned that technology against us. So in order to stop this, which many people may be thinking, well, how do we avoid this? I think the answer is obvious. These huge data repositories, like the one in Bluffdale, Utah, the underground ones they have, the one in Maryland, okay, the threat fusion data collection centers, okay, these data storage facilities need to be unplugged, if you get my drift. Okay,
Yeah,
the data storage media needs to be erased or rendered unusable because they've already collected so much data. It blows the mind. It really does. Data sweepers like the Gwen Towers and these dirt boxes and other data collection hardware needs to be disabled. We got to find some way to disable it, jam it. Because let me put it to you this way, all right? How can I say this? The car won't run if there's no gas in the tank.
Right. You know, what we're talking about here is the R word. We're talking about a real, no kidding rebellion. This is really quite dangerous stuff. I have to tell you, it's exciting.
It's very dangerous.
I mean, drones.
I think the word.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the word you used is diabolical, and that's a very good description. Well, the drones are plugged into the Jade 2 system. Yeah. They directly communicate to the, you know, those little operators you see in wherever it is, Nevada or someplace, or Colorado, where they're operating. Nah. These drones now can be plugged directly into Jade 2.
Nice.
Take its orders from there.
Mm-hmm. So Jade Helm, somebody was recently on the program who said it's not kicking off on July 15th. It's already running now. Do you agree?
I think it's been running for quite some time.
Yeah.
You know, the back end of it, not the front end of it. Another interesting, I don't know if it was a Freudian slip or whatever, but when I was doing a report on mastering the human domain and the 1033 program and 21st century policing with that executive order 13684, I played a clip of this guy. Oh, what the heck is his name? I want to say Martin, but I don't think that's his name. He's the official PR person for this operation, and he was caught on tape. He didn't say it once, he said it twice. He said Jade Helm will be in full swing on July 15th, and it will be terminating on September 11th. And then he said again, we will be rolling up operations and terminating this exercise on September 11th. I don't think that was a mistake.
What does that mean to you?
You know, it's
just rubbing our noses in a little bit, or what do you think?
Maybe, could be.
I mean, was that your impression?
Well, I think the date September 11th holds significance, and if not in all Americans' minds, most Americans' minds. And I think it may have been a Freudian slip. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but he said it twice. Usually if you make a mistake like that, you know, especially if you're a PR spokesperson, you know, you correct yourself. You don't say the same mistake again in the following sentence.
Yeah, like one of the 9/11 commissioners when he said, when we saw one of our, you look up, you were worried, and many times you were afraid. As I that night looked at the Pentagon, one of our fortresses that had been hit by a missile airplane, and missile airplane, moron.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it was hit by a missile. That's obvious. Mm-hmm. And then people have come on with me and said, "Oh no, all the parts of the airplane, the hole in the Pentagon, it's not as large a diameter as the fuselage of the aircraft. Mm-hmm. So where are the parts? Oh, they all went in the hole behind it. So yeah, sure they did.
And the heat was so intense they burned up.
Yeah, totally gone.
Totally gone. Yep. But that gets back to too. Remember when we were going over a lot of one word that kept popping up in not only the GeoINT symposium videos and papers, but in the Jade Helm papers, and then in that SOCOM RSOF 2022 paper was the word actor. That struck me as odd.
Yeah.
Actor. I mean, are you talking about? Are these provocateurs? Are these, geopolitical pawns? Are actor? What a strange word to use in military documents.
Indeed.
So I
Actors,
think,
yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, no. I was just going to say that I think a lot of these people out there, and even, especially people that have been on your show, that are coming out and they're talking about, all of this stuff with Sandy Hook and the Colorado shooting, and there's so many of them, I can't even think of them offhand. You know, those were actors, the Boston bombing.
You
They were
bet.
all actors. And people have been, to their credit, in a very logical way, pointing this out to the general public. Look at this guy. He's the same guy that was in that news clip and that news clip. This guy's daughter just got blown away in elementary school, and he can't stop laughing. And they're doing a good job, pointing this stuff out. But my question is that these documents were made, some of them, and some of the reports that come out prior to those incidents. So I just found it to be a very strange word to be popping up all throughout, military reports and reports having to do with this neural net. I don't
Yeah,
know. I can't make the connection right now.
I understand.
But it's just odd.
So I take it you regarded the Sandy Hook incident with a jaundiced eye.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at a couple of guys here. These photographs were sent to me by Wolfgang Halbig earlier today, and our crew was up at Hartford last week, just getting all sorts of stuff on the old video recorders. And I'm looking at a couple of guys here that, yeah, they're in uniform, and one of them appears to be the Region 5 coordinator. Of course, it's not a very clear photograph, but it looks like the man, all right. And this other one looks a whole lot like that other guy there in a uniform. He's distributing cases of he's getting some cases of water bottles situated on a table. It's very interesting indeed. When one of the when Halbig's lawyer said to I believe, wasn't it the superintendent of the school system there? I believe it was. I could be misspeaking, but I don't think I am. Well, who put the sign there that says everyone must check in? Oh, well, the Department of Homeland Security. Oh, right. 3 days before the so-called shooting.
Everyone must check in, huh?
Everyone must check in. You bet. Department of Homeland Security, this woman said, is the one who put the sign there. Department of Homeland Security. The moment that I heard G.W. Bush say those words, we're going to establish a Department of Homeland Security, I'll tell you, my chest just swelled with pride at the word homeland. I thought, what kind of Mickey Mouse poo is this? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'll try and keep it clean since I'm visiting with a lady here. But the thing about it is it doesn't depress me. It doesn't do any of that. It does trigger one of those things that we should guard against. I take it those sensors can pick up anger pretty easily. This stuff makes me angry. You know why? Because it insults my intelligence. I mean, even if I had 1/10 of the intelligence that apparently several people have measured, it would still insult what little. If I had an IQ of 10, it would insult my intelligence. They just think that this is okay to do this. Well, we have our agenda. Well, screw your agenda, and you too. But, that and $1 will get you right on the subway. What I want to do is figure out a way to do what you said. I don't understand. Let's see now. If it's not against the law to lie, well, then I guess somebody out there can make a case that it's not against the law to enslave humanity, as long as you're humane about it. As long as the enslavement is in furtherance of cooperation and a happier life for the citizenry of the planet. And things will run much more smoothly with one centralized government and one currency. And in fact, we may not use currency at all. Maybe we'll use McGowan-esque work units. Yes, that will suggest that everyone has a work to do, and because they get credits, they're getting credit for their work, and that's kind of a recognition. This should make them feel some sense of pride that they're part of a grand system to keep this planet under control. I mean, good grief.
They don't even look at us as human. And that's okay, because I don't look at them as human either. I mean, humans have empathy. They love. I mean, they have compassion. They feel remorse. These people that seem to be running the planet have none of those qualities.
Yeah. It makes me think of what Frank Zappa said when he was at a hearing in Washington, D.C., when he was threatened with being held in contempt. And he said, "That's okay, Senator. I already hold you in contempt."
Feelings mutual.
Yeah.
And that just reminds me, every time I hear one of these idiots, especially Obama, get up and announce another one of these executive orders, this is it. I almost expect I should be hearing a large billowing voice in the background saying, "I am the Lord thy government, and there shall be no other gods before me."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like that, God. I mean, you people you don't abide by the same laws you expect us to abide by. You're not prosecuted for crimes against humanity, but, the guy down the street robs a loaf of bread and they SWAT team his house. What is this? How did we get here?
I don't know. I think it's through, I think it's that old, from slavery to great spirituality to courage to freedom to abundance to complacency to apathy and back to slavery. I think we're in the apathy stage, and I think we're on the verge of going back into slavery. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do. It's all cyclical.
Cycles of government.
Yeah, that's it. And we're just going to have to taste some real pain. But as I put these things that these wonderful people that I have conversations with, I can't even remember who it was, Mr. Ghost, who said that pain is a good thing. It's a warning. What's that? Was that Harry Dent? Yeah. Talk about a renegade economist. He's made some good predictions, but a lot of people don't agree with his prognostications. But so what? I mean, like Arthur Clarke said, or what have I said this 10 times the last 2 weeks? For every expert, there's an equal and opposite expert.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Arthur C. Clarke, like him. But people who don't feel pain, they bump into things, they injure themselves, they kill themselves. They don't even know what they're doing. They're just crashing into stuff. They're not even aware of it. So pain is a wonderful warning mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it is unpleasant, and I just think we're about to taste some real pain. I really do.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, I could listen to you all night, and I will. If you want to go on for another couple hours, that'd be great. Seriously, you might be going, "Oh man, your eyes may be rolling at that one."
I have to go feed the horses.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea. Now you talk about some therapy. And how about that American Pharaoh, the way he looked at the camera like, "Hey, I did okay, didn't I?" Did you see his picture after he'd won the Triple Crown?
You know what? I didn't, John. I unplugged from TV about 4 years ago. So all this stuff that's normally covered on the news and sporting channels and that.
That's right. The women are smarter. Okay.
No.
No, they are. They are.
I couldn't take it anymore.
I can't take it anymore.
I would find myself getting so angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why are you doing this then? Why are you watching this? It's making you angry.
Mommy, why is Daddy yelling at the television set like this? It's an inanimate object. I'm a baby, and I know this. Well, I'll tell you what. This program's already running, and so I suppose it's going to ramp up a little bit. Is it too much of a stretch to suggest that you and I and our blessed and beloved caravanners get together again as the official rollout of Jade Helm 2 occurs, and let's just see if anything's changed? Because I'll tell you what, this has been an extraordinarily enriching and illuminating conversation with you. I really mean that. I don't feel like I contributed very much to it. If anything, I took away from it, just because I can't really hang with you on this level of research that you've done. But Gosh, it was just great. And it's
Well,
really,
John, I have to say thank you. And coming from you, that's an honor because one of the few people I really respect in the alternative media is you, your show, and you know your contribution to all the guests that you have on there. And there's a few others, you know, but I really, really enjoy the people that you have on your show, the way you handle things, you know, the way you don't get people all worked up. You know, there's a couple of pretty big alternative news people out there that, oh my God, I sit there and listen to them and I have a headache in 5 minutes. And to me, that's not good. What did you say? Pain is an indication
yeah.
of something you should not be doing?
I'm just happy you said it. I'd be willing to, but I'm very happy you said it. That's right. The women are smart. I love it. I really do. Well, go feed your horses, lady. I think you're just wonderful, DJ, and I want to talk to you again. I really do. I'm going to keep your numbers, and so if you go, who is this? It's probably me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What would you
Okay,
like to
well-
What would you like to leave us with? I mean, you got to impart one good Parthian shot. Just fire that bow as you're riding away, out behind you.
Well, I think oh God, there's so much.
You don't fire
The
a
one-
bow. You release an arrow. Sorry. See, I'm doing it again.
I think the main thing is in all this insanity is to stay calm, find a spiritual center, you know, and focus on that. Be kind to people, you know, smile at people, make eye contact when you go out during the day, and just smile at them. And, you know, chances are they'll smile back. Just generate as much of the good emotions as you can, because like as I mentioned before, these systems I believe are being triggered by negative emotion. Just generate as much positive as you're individually capable of.
That's a beautiful thing. So that what there may be of the divine in everyone can recognize the divine in all others.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we are all divine. We are all special. We're not cattle. We're not, you know, herd animals, you know, which is what they're trying to reduce us to.
Yes.
And we're not. We're spiritual beings. We're conscious. There's a collective consciousness, I believe, that, you know, can be tapped into. And I'm not talking about this GeoINT, you know, that's artificial. I believe that there is a real one out there that we're all a part of. We all came from it, and we're all going to return to it.
I'm going to follow every link and every bit of data that I've written down on these pages so that I'll be up on things a little better by the time we talk next. I'll tell you what, this was absolutely amazing. I thank you very much for what you've brought to everybody who is within range of this cybercast, this radiocast, this however you're getting the information. May God bless you, and I look forward to our next conversation.
You too, John. Thank you so much.
Take care now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, I don't know. All I know is that there's far more to be known than what we know now. So let's get about finding out what it is, shall we? And until we meet again, do what DJ said. Let the divine in you recognize the divine in others. Generate that positive energy. We can't make it by ourselves. We need each other. And if it turns into an us versus them scenario, well, we can at least be content in knowing that we did not make that choice. They did. But we are prepared to meet them on their own terms. Until we meet again, exercise caution in your daily affairs. Eyes up always. Make ready for what's to come. May God bless you. Be seeing you.